is a lot to say about Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. There are a lot of mixed feelings about it. From its inconclusive story to its troubled development that is connected to Hideo Kojima's eventual departure from Konami, MGS5 was, nonetheless, the work of a visionary, and in 2025, it's still like no other stealth game, or open world game for that matter. The situation around the final Metal Gear is complicated, but from a gameplay perspective, it's a technical achievement, especially when compared to games adhering to the open world Ubisoft formula. I'm afraid it's been 9 years after its release, and we want to talk about why more open world games should have taken notes from Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. As many of us know, Metal Gear Solid is the stealth game, the one that really popularized the genre in the industry. Sure, you have games like Thief or Splinter Cell that should also be credited for its contributions to gaming, but MGS was a stealth game and more. It also popularized cinematic storytelling in video games, incorporating philosophical and political elements into its narrative. Whatever Hollywood-style storytelling we enjoy in games today, we'd usually owe to what the franchise has accomplished over the past 30 years. Metal Gear Solid 5 takes the signature gameplay of the series into an open world. It would initially feel like a weird idea, given how the franchise is known for its linear level design. But then it all started to make sense when players started to see how open-ended the moment-to-moment gameplay can be. Despite often being coached by someone over the codec, MGS5 doesn't actually hold your hand. How you tackle the objective is up to your creativity. It uses the open world to complement its dynamic gameplay centering on player choice and agency, adding scale to the experience on different levels. Like any stealth game, walls and rocks are not just mere game assets, but serve as tools that can be used to your advantage. Even the soil becomes part of the cerebral process, as utilizing your camo becomes an invaluable tactic. Because the environments are more open than they've ever been, you can approach from almost any direction. You can infiltrate from behind and follow the perimeter until you see a fence you can climb. If you're lucky, you can even find a hole in the gutter you can crawl through, harkening back to the first-person vents from the original game. Just from your infiltration, you can already feel how open-ended things are compared to the tight level design of the older games, where you'd often feel the hand of the developers pushing you towards a limited set of entry points. You even get a mission prep screen where you can decide what camo to wear, equipment to bring, vehicle to deploy, chopper drop-off point, and which buddy is going to join you. Starting the operation in the day or night is also up to you. Hell, you can even play as someone other than Snake. Metal Gear Solid 5 isn't just about open-ended stealth action. It's about giving you the sense that every mission is an elaborate military operation that you planned for. If you carefully crawled towards the base, taking it slow and safe, that was your tactical decision. If you did a synchronized takedown with D-Dog, that's something you did out of your own volition. The game doesn't really tell you to do that. They just tell you what the objective is. And if that's not enough info, gathering intel on the objective is also part of the flow on some scenarios. Going out of your way to look for intel inside bases, interrogating enemies, or rescuing POWs rewards you with clues on the approximate locations of your objective. You also get to decide where you want to be picked up by your chopper. You can make a clean getaway and designate a safer LZ, but doing it in the middle of the base can be a dramatic and cinematic experience, as you make an explosive exit after blowing up their anti-air radar, mowing down your pursuers when you make it to the chopper's minigun. All this while you have Take On Me by Aha playing on the helicopter speakers. Crazy stuff. It helps that the AI isn't as brain-dead as in other open-world games, as they react well to the disturbances you cause. This allows for creative ideas, such as distracting an entire base with a planned explosion to cover your escape, or flanking enemies after you've ordered quiet to distract enemies from an opposing sniping position. You gotta work smart, and you get rewarded for doing so. Exfiltrating an injured person sounds like a hassle, cause you gotta carry the dude all the way to the LZ while avoiding search parties. Unless you summon D-Horse to carry that person for you. You can extract groups of soldiers at the cost of 1 Fulton by putting them in a jeep. You can even get back to your chopper by hitching a ride with an extracted resource container. The main story missions were also made with that open-endedness in mind, sometimes drastically changing depending on how you approach the situation. You can also observe this, especially when tackling the optional objectives that just outright makes replaying the missions feel like it's something else. The missions don't really give players access to the full open world, but the area of operations is considerably larger compared to the main story missions in other open world games. For example, your objective is to eliminate 3 targets in 3 different villages. You'll find out they're gonna meet each other at some point. You can opt to sneak into the meeting and take them down altogether. You're also given the freedom to eliminate them when they're en route to the meeting. Players can opt to leave slippery poop on the road to create an accident, plant a decoy of snake along the path, shoot the wheels and follow it up with a smoke, set up mines, or just go guns blazing when they enter your kill zone. Either way, this isn't a pre-made scenario that the devs curated for the player. It's an actual ambush that you planned and executed. No one told you exactly where, when, and how to do it. Another mission has you locate a secret weapon that the enemy is also searching for. You can tail a prisoner that knows about its whereabouts and get the jump on the enemy as they find it, or you can rescue the prisoner and have him tell you where it is. Both missions, while not open world, have a large geographical scope, spanning multiple bases. Linear mission design in an open world isn't a bad thing. Red Dead Redemption 2 garnered critical acclaim despite being rigid when it came to how to do things. Sure, there's a ton of value to be found on well-created linearity, but certain games like Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs can benefit from MGS5's mini-immersive sim design philosophy. On a side note, the Phantom Pain is a good case study on how to implement tailing missions. It's often found to be an underwhelming mission type when it's forced upon the player. But in the context of an open-ended experience where the player is likely starving for information, it can be a very engaging experience. It really boils down to how to make the player interested in what the person of interest has to offer. It was definitely memorable sneaking through an entire bridge just to keep up with the guy and stalking him with my binoculars as he led me to my objective. Remember when we said that the enemy AI isn't dumb? There's more to that, as enemy factions will also make adjustments to the player's actions. Using smoke grenades a lot will eventually cause the enemies to wear gas masks. Have a favorite route to an encampment? They might start planning claymores at some point. Clearing bases with headshots cause you're an expert sniper, the enemy will start to wear helmets. Not accurate enough for headshots? Body armor then. Love using the cover of night and going for the Splinter Cell playstyle? Well, Sam Fisher won't be the only one using night vision goggles tonight. Adaptive enemy tactics is a smart way to get players to shake up the way they play the game, because sometimes the freedom to play in different ways also means giving players the freedom to only stay in their comfort zone. This wasn't always perfectly implemented, as players would still force their playstyles by simply getting better at what they're already doing. But it's nonetheless a great concept that other open world games can do to make things more interesting. Ghost of Tsushima and various Ubisoft games give you tons of tools to play with, and imagine how cooler those games would be if you had to adjust your strategies in light of new enemy tactics. Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system has proven this to be true. It's not just the emergent gameplay that makes Metal Gear Solid 5 special. In many other games, the associations of your characters simply serve as a backdrop for the gameplay. You don't have to think too hard about what the US military is going through in Call of Duty because the gameplay is only concerned with what your operative is going through in a level. But in Metal Gear Solid 5, managing Mother Base brings things to a whole new level. Vital implications to the series lore aside, it gives a deeper sense of purpose to the player even from a gameplay perspective. Its base building mechanics affect every aspect of the experience. Investing in research and development unlocks a plethora of permanent equipment and upgrades, while improving your intel department affects how fast you can get different kinds of supply drops and the kind of useful information provided to you while on the field, such as highlighting areas with suspected enemy activities. A combat unit can be deployed to different missions, such as sabotaging enemy supply lines to undo whatever tactical adjustments they've made against the player. Manpower is obtained by extracting any soldier you encounter in the field, which adds player incentive to utilizing non-lethal approaches. Recruits are also gained through volunteers if you have a higher heroism rating and morale. It serves as your home that you can actually visit. You can even see how it expands as the game progresses. Everything you do in the open world is in service to the growth of this organization you take part in. Not just the people you bring in, but also with the vehicles, resources, and wildlife you can extract. This, in turn, offers the player a variety of benefits on the field. And the benefits are no joke sometimes. The late game stuff you get is crazy. What starts off as tactical bombardment features ends up with also allowing the player to literally change the weather at whim, or sucking soldiers through a wormhole. For a stealth game, it makes all the difference in the world knowing that your actions matter to a tangible faction of the game. In another video, we talked about how Assassin's Creed's Brotherhood systems were a missed opportunity at adding depth to open world discretion and consistency to lore, while not necessarily removing the player's overpowered combat capabilities. You don't have to remove the power fantasy, just make the players take greater responsibility for something bigger than themselves. Stealth games aside, we believe more games should incorporate deeper and more dynamic connections between management and open world systems. This is a feature that Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint could have benefited from. You spend a lot of time gathering resources and sabotaging military-occupied provinces, and you do support a rebel faction that is tied to your progression on certain abilities. But this being a Tom Clancy game, it's honestly weird not having any base of operations to complement the progression systems. You're basically an elite band of soldiers on a never-ending cross-country road trip. How do these guys get any R&R? It's not like they're super soldiers like Solid Snake. It's fun searching for gear all over the world, but it would be more immersive if your actions affected the organizations that supply and support your squad. Watch Dogs Legion's main gimmick was recruiting anyone in the world to your hacktivist syndicate in order to liberate London, and it just focused on simply making everyone playable, rather than having a multifaceted management feature that would make even non-combatants useful to the cause. The back office part of operations is vital too. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is a game that knows what kind of open world it wants to be. It doesn't offer a large playable area just because it's an industry trend. Afghanistan and Africa serve as more of an area of operations rather than something that's built to be explored. You deploy into the open world with a plan and objective from your command center, as opposed to being a constant wanderer. You don't have to be lost in the world to be immersed in it. The lack of easy fast travel points was a deliberate decision from the developers. If you wanted to wander throughout the open world, you had to make the strategic decision of deploying with a buddy that specializes in traversal at the cost of other useful abilities, or by bringing a vehicle that may or may not incur costs to your mother base resources. You can steal a vehicle, but you either have to be lucky or have prior knowledge of where to expect one. Or you can just decide to go on foot, which is slower but safe. It's not about exploration, but rather deliberate traversal. Stay out too long and you'll be forced to get a bath, and even be told that it's not good for morale to have an absent leader. On the other hand, a game like Ghost Recon Wildlands does not know what kind of open world game it wants to be. It's an open world tactical shooter where you have to destabilize a narco state through a series of objectives adhering to the Ubisoft formula. The premise is really cool, and the open world of the Ghost Recon games are filled with more diverse and beautiful environments. But the execution involves bloating the world map with a checklist of things to do. Again, it's weird to see characters in a Tom Clancy game out in the field for a prolonged period of time, like it's GTA or Just Cause. Ironic, because the original Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six games had some of the deepest planning phases in the history of military shooters. MGS5's gameplay loop is also something of a literal checklist, but it's bloated in the different ways the players can approach it rather than sheer volume of repetitive content. It's less formulaic, and the markers on the map end up meaning more to the player. That's why Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is not like any stealth game, or open world game for that matter. It's the result of a well thought out dynamic between emergent gameplay mechanics and deep management systems that no other game has properly emulated. We may never see a Metal Gear title like this ever again, but we hope that others may follow in its legacy. Thanks for watching! Any epic MGS5 moments you'd want to share? Games that could follow in its footsteps? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more gaming news, updates, and deep dives, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you again on the field, fellow Diamond Dogs.